Hello golfers, so here's just a very quick way of how we can gain a bit more speed efficiently in the golf swing, especially when we're looking at driver. So as we all know, to get the ball to go a long way with the driver, we need a positive attack angle with as little spin as possible while still maintaining enough spin to keep the ball in the air. High launch, low spin is our formula for hitting a long drive. But how we shallow out that attack angle is something that's not discussed too much, and it's what I'm going to go into a bit more today, on a bit more of an efficient way on how we can shallow out that attack angle while still creating some speed through ground reaction forces and through helping our timing a little bit more as well. So what we see the best players in the world do, and we can see this on lots of examples when we look at PGA Tour pros on Gears Golf, is we see as they go up to the top of their swing, they have a negative amount of lift in their body. Okay, so what we mean by that is their pelvis and their rib cage gets closer to the ball, gets lower to the ground. So there's that sort of little squat in at the top of their swing. So that's a very, very efficient way of loading into the right hip. So having good internal mobility in the right hip helps with this. Also good mobility, good movement in the thoracic spine. So the midsection of our spine is all going to help with this. But internally rotating and loading into that right hip properly and getting a little bit closer to the ground in preparation for the movement, which will, number one, shallow out the arc, but will, two, also gain us some speed, which is that lift that we then see at impact. So it's almost a vertical jump that we see. When we look at the numbers, we see that on average there's sort of 2 inches of that sort of crunch into the ground, and there's that 2-inch drop in their height from where they are at their address position in preparation for as they go down towards the ball. And we see that can jump up to almost 2 inches the other way. So 2 inches of lift at impact, 2 inches of getting taller. So we sort of see a 4-inch vertical jump in the golf swing. Now, what are the advantages of that? Obviously the biggest advantage we have is that we're creating some real strong ground reaction forces, so our potential for a much higher vertical force is definitely there. As we're sort of crunching, we're putting energy, we're putting force into the ground, ready for that equal and opposite reaction of pushing us back out of the ground as we do that 4-inch jump. But the other thing is going to be really important for as well, what we said at the start, is that it's going to shallow our arc out, because as we're pushing upwards, we're putting pressure on the grip and we're pulling the grip upwards with us. Now obviously as we pull the grip upwards, the club head itself is firing, shallowing out the arc. So we're maintaining that positive attack angle whilst creating some pretty quick speeds through there as well. So just to recap on that, we want to be able to have a good vertical jump in our golf swing. A good way to test this is to test how much you can vertically jump. Measure your height of your jump. If you're struggling with the height of the jump, then there's maybe some work to do there in the gym or at home when you're training. We would sort of want to see around a 20-inch vertical jump would be pretty good. We see sort of long drive pros, big hitters in the world. I mean, they're nearing up sort of plus 35 inches of vertical jump, which is sort of like NBA basketball level. So having that strong vertical jump is a massive help with that. But as we said as well, having good mobility in the right hip, being able to internally rotate that right hip and load into the right side properly to create that crunch into the ground, and the mobility in the thoracic spine as well, in our lats, to be able to make sure we're maintaining posture at the top of the swing as well. All of those things are going to be able to help us with that really strong vertical jump upwards. That number one, we need to create speed, but number two is going to shallow out the arc, help with the strike, and ultimately get you hitting these drivers even longer.